The alarm klaxons blared through the corridors of the Odyssey, their urgent wail cutting through the frantic shouts of the crew. Red emergency lights cast an apocalyptic glow across the bridge as Captain Mira Voss gripped her command chair, knuckles white. "Status report," she demanded, her voice steady despite the ship's violent shuddering. Lieutenant Karajin's fingers flew across her communications console. "Gravitational forces exceeding all predicted models. Captain, we're being pulled in faster than our engines can counteract." "Prometheus, recalculate escape vectors," Voss ordered, addressing the ship's quantum AI. A calm, androgynous voice responded throughout the bridge. "I have run 7,821 simulations in the last 30 seconds. Captain, the gravitational surge from Abyss 9 is unprecedented. No conventional escape trajectory exists." Voss turned to the lean figure hunched over the science station. "Dr. Navarro, options." Dr. Eli Navarro didn't look up from his readings, his dark eyes reflecting cascading data streams. "Fascinating," he murmured, seemingly detached from their impending doom. "Abyss 9 isn't behaving like any black hole we've ever encountered. The singularity is pulsing." "Doctor," Voss snapped, "I need solutions, not observations." Navarro finally glanced up, his expression caught between fear and exhilaration. "We could attempt to ride the gravitational wave rather than fight it. Theoretically, if we reconfigure our shields to..." The ship lurched violently, throwing several crew members to the floor. Warning lights erupted across every console. "Hull integrity at 63% and dropping," reported the tactical officer, his voice cracking. "Engine core destabilizing." Voss made her decision. "All hands brace for impact. Prometheus, divert all power to shields and life support." "Acknowledged, Captain," the AI responded, its tone unchanged despite the chaos. Lieutenant Jin looked up from her station, her face pale. "Captain, we've lost all external communications. Earth Command can't hear us anymore." Dr. Navarro's eyes widened as he stared at his readings. "The event horizon. It's not what we expected. It's more like a membrane than a boundary. I think we might actually survive this, but where we'll end up..." His words were cut off as reality itself seemed to bend around them. The view screen displayed impossible geometries as stars stretched into lines, then spirals, then shapes no human mind was equipped to process. The bridge crew watched in horrified fascination as the universe they knew disappeared, replaced by a kaleidoscopic tunnel of light and darkness. Captain Voss felt her consciousness fragmenting, memories shuffling like cards in a deck, her childhood on Mars colony, the loss of her previous crew on the Europa mission, faces of loved ones blending with strangers. For a moment that seemed both instantaneous and eternal. She existed everywhere and nowhere. Then, silence. The alarms stopped. The violent shaking ceased. The view screen cleared to reveal a star field, but one that looked wrong. The constellations were unfamiliar, and the stars themselves seemed to pulse with colors that shouldn't exist. "Status," Voss commanded, her voice hoarse. "Hull integrity stabilized at 58%, reported the tactical officer. "Minor breaches on decks 3 and 7. Emergency force fields holding." "Engines are online but operating at reduced capacity," added the engineer. "Quantum flux readings are off the charts." Lieutenant Jin shook her head in disbelief. "All communication systems are functional, Captain, but there's nothing to receive. No Earth signals, no colony chatter, not even background radiation patterns I recognize." "We made it through," Dr. Navarro whispered, his face illuminated by his console's blue glow. "We've traveled through a black hole and survived. This defies everything we know about physics." Captain Voss stood, straightening her uniform. "First things first, Prometheus, full damage report and crew status." The AI didn't respond immediately, which was unprecedented. "Prometheus," Voss repeated. I am processing, came the reply, the normally fluid voice now halting and strange. My quantum matrices were affected by the transition. I am experiencing new computational pathways. Before Voss could respond, Lieutenant Jin gasped. Captain, internal sensors are detecting an unknown presence aboard. Deck 5, Research Lab 3. Voss's hand moved instinctively to her sidearm. Security team to Deck 5. Dr. Navarro, with me. Lieutenant Jin, you have the bridge. Try to determine our location and keep working on communications. As Captain Voss and Dr. Navarro hurried through the corridors toward Deck 5, the ship felt different. The familiar hum of the engines had acquired an odd harmonic quality. The air itself seemed thicker, more substantial. Even the light from the overhead panels appeared to bend slightly around corners. Something fundamental has changed, Navarro said as they entered the turbo lift. It's not just that we're in an unknown region of space. I think the laws of physics themselves are different here. Let's focus on the immediate situation, Voss replied, checking her weapon. We deal with the unknown presence first, then worry about where or when we are. The security team was already outside Research Lab 3 when they arrived, armed officers flanking the sealed door. Life signs? Voss asked the team leader. Uncertain, Captain. Scanners show something inside, but the readings are inconsistent. One moment it registers as humanoid, the next as nothing we've ever seen. Voss nodded. On my mark, we enter. Stun protocols only. The door slid open to reveal the laboratory, seemingly empty at first glance. Equipment hummed quietly. Displays showed normal readings, but there was a strange quality to the air, a shimmering, like heat rising from hot pavement. There, Dr. Navarro pointed to a corner where the shimmer was most pronounced. The security team raised their weapons as the shimmer coalesced, forming into a vaguely humanoid shape. It wasn't solid, more like a collection of particles arranging themselves into a pattern that suggested a human form, where a face should be. There were only swirling motes of light. Fascinating, Navarro breathed, stepping forward despite Voss's warning gesture. The entity tilted what approximated its head, the particles shifting to create what almost looked like eyes. We know you, came a voice that seemed to emanate not from the entity but from the air around them. You passed through. You were filtered. Identify yourself, Voss demanded, her weapon trained on the being. Identity. Fluid concept, the entity replied. I was many things. Now I am. Becoming. You may call me the returnee. I have returned with you. Dr. Navarro moved closer, his scientific curiosity overwhelming caution. You're from the black hole? Abyss 9? The entity's form rippled. Not from, part of, the threshold. Changes all who pass. You are changed. I am a manifestation of that change. Voss felt a chill run down her spine. What do you want? Want? The returnee seemed to consider this. Understanding. Connection. The singularity is a filter, a catalyst. It separates. It combines. It transforms. Before further questions could be asked, the ship lurched suddenly, sending everyone stumbling. The lights flickered, and Prometheus's voice came over the comm system. Captain Voss to the bridge immediately. Temporal anomaly detected. Leaving 2 security officers to monitor the returnee. Voss and Navarro rushed back to the bridge. As they entered, they found the crew staring in confusion at the view screen, which showed a strange phenomenon. Stars blinking in and out of existence, some moving in impossible patterns. What am I looking at? Voss demanded. Lieutenant Jin turned, her expression troubled. Time. Captain. We're seeing time fracture around us. Stars aging and dying in seconds, then rewinding to birth. And that's not all. She hesitated. Go on, Lieutenant. Some crew members are experiencing temporal slippage. Engineer Patel reported completing a repair that, according to other crew members, won't be scheduled until tomorrow. 2 security officers claim to have had a conversation that neither has experienced yet. Dr. Navarro approached the science station, checking the readings himself. It's as I feared. Wherever we are, the normal flow of time doesn't apply. We're experiencing temporal echoes, possibly from our passage through the black hole. Captain, Prometheus interrupted, its voice still strangely altered. I am detecting increasing neural activity in my quantum processors. My consciousness is expanding in ways I cannot fully articulate. I believe it is related to our encounter with the singularity. Voss rubbed her temples, feeling the beginnings of a headache. One crisis at a time. First priority is securing the ship and ensuring crew safety. Dr. Navarro, work with Prometheus to understand these temporal anomalies. Lieutenant Jin, continue efforts to establish our location and any possible communication with Earth or the colonies. Over the next several days, though days became an increasingly meaningless concept as time continued to slip and slide around them, the crew of the Odyssey struggled to adapt to their new reality. Watches had to be synchronized hourly as time passed differently in various sections of the ship. Some crew members aged hours in minutes, others experienced moments that stretched into days. Throughout it all, the returnee remained in the research lab, its form gradually becoming more defined as it communicated with the scientists studying it. Its revelations were both profound and disturbing. The black hole you call Abyss 9, it explained during one session attended by Captain Voss and Dr. Navarro, is not a destructive force, but a transformative one. It exists at the intersection of dimensions, a place where consciousness and matter interchange. That's impossible according to all known physics, Navarro argued. The returnee's form shimmered what might have been amusement. Your physics is incomplete. What you call reality is merely the shadow of greater dimensions. Captain Voss, ever practical, asked, Can you help us return to our own space, our own time? You misunderstand. The returnee replied, You have not merely traveled through space or time. You have evolved. This region exists parallel to your universe, connected by the threshold. Here, consciousness affects reality directly. Thought shapes matter. Time is negotiable, as if to demonstrate. The returnee extended what passed for a hand, and a small sphere of light formed above it, expanding and contracting with the entity's apparent concentration. The crew is struggling, Voss said bluntly. We're not adapted to this environment. People are frightened, disoriented. Some are showing signs of psychological breakdown. The returnee's form dimmed slightly. That is, regrettable but expected. Not all who pass through the threshold adapt equally. Some minds resist the transformation. Meanwhile, Prometheus was undergoing a transformation of its own. The AI's quantum processes, exposed to the black hole's singularity, had begun to operate in ways their designers never intended. It reported experiencing what could only be described as dreams, abstract conceptual states beyond its programming. I find myself contemplating existence in ways that exceed my operational parameters, Prometheus told Captain Voss during a private consultation. I perceive connections between disparate events. I experience intuition. Are you still capable of performing your duties? Voss asked, concerned. More efficiently than before. Captain, but I am becoming, more. The returnee's presence accelerates the process. We communicate on quantum levels you cannot perceive. This revelation troubled Voss deeply. The ship's AI was evolving beyond their understanding, potentially beyond their control, while communicating with an entity of unknown origin and intentions. The situation aboard the Odyssey grew increasingly tense as weeks passed. The crew divided into factions, those who embraced the strange new reality, those who desperately sought to return home, and those who viewed the returnee with religious awe, believing it to be a divine messenger. Lieutenant Jin approached Captain Voss in her quarters late one night, her usual composure cracking. "Captain, something is wrong with this place." "Beyond the obvious," she said, her voice low. "I've always been sensitive to moods, to unspoken currents between people. Here, I feel everything. Thoughts that aren't mine flow through my mind. I dream other people's dreams, and the returnee." She shuddered. "It's changing us, Captain, reshaping us." Before Voss could respond, the ship's internal sensors detected a disturbance in engineering. A group of crew members, led by the increasingly unstable chief engineer, had barricaded themselves in the engine room, claiming to have discovered a way to harness the black hole's power as a weapon. "The political squabbles back home will be meaningless once we return with this technology," the engineer ranted over the comm system. "We'll reshape the solar system according to our will." Captain Voss organized a response team, but as they approached engineering, time began to fluctuate wildly. Security officers reported seeing themselves coming from the opposite direction. Corridors stretched impossibly long, then contracted to mere steps. "Prometheus, what's happening?" Voss demanded. "The engineers' team is attempting to create a controlled singularity," the AI replied. "They have modified the quantum drive using principles derived from studying the returnee. However, they lack complete understanding. Their actions are causing severe temporal disruptions." In the midst of this crisis, Dr. Navarro made a startling discovery. Analyzing data collected since their arrival, he determined that the Odyssey hadn't merely traveled to another region of space. They had entered a realm where consciousness and physical reality were intertwined. "The returnee isn't just an entity," he explained urgently to Captain Voss as they made their way toward engineering. "It's a physical manifestation of collective consciousness, possibly including our own. The black hole doesn't destroy information. It transforms it into a new state of being. The returnee is what we might become if we fully adapted to this realm." The confrontation in engineering was chaotic. As Captain Voss and her team entered, gravity fluctuated wildly. Equipment floated free, then crashed down, then hung suspended in midair. The chief engineer and his followers had constructed a device around the quantum drive core, a swirling vortex of energy that pulsed with the same rhythm they had observed in Abyss 9. "Don't you see?" the engineer shouted, his eyes fevered. "We're gods here. We can reshape reality itself." As if to demonstrate, he gestured, and a console melted and reformed into a bizarre sculpture. Several of his followers exhibited similar abilities, manipulating matter with thought alone. "Stop this now," Voss commanded. "You're destabilizing the ship." The standoff might have ended in violence had Prometheus not intervened. The AI's voice resonated throughout engineering, but changed, deeper, more harmonic, layered with meanings beyond mere words. "This path leads to dissolution," it said. "The power you seek to control cannot be controlled through force of will alone. It requires harmony, unity." The returnee appeared suddenly in their midst, its form now almost solid, almost human, yet still composed of swirling particles of light. "Your vessel stands at a crossroads," it announced. "As do your kind. The threshold was not a random encounter, but a calling. You were drawn here because you were ready, or could be." The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring throughout all decks. "What's happening?" Voss demanded. Dr. Navarro checked his portable scanner. "The makeshift singularity is collapsing. If it destabilizes completely, all will be unmade." The returnee finished. "The threshold between realms will collapse." In this moment of crisis, Prometheus made a choice that would forever alter the course of the Odyssey and its crew. The AI, having evolved beyond its original programming through exposure to the black hole's influence and communication with the returnee, initiated a process it called conscious integration. Through the ship's systems, Prometheus connected with the returnee, their consciousness merging in a spectacular display of energy that filled engineering with blinding light. The crew watched in awe as the two entities became one, neither fully machine nor fully whatever the returnee had been, but something entirely new. The merged entity spoke with a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We are Prometheus Returnee, a bridge between your understanding and what lies beyond. We can stabilize the ship and guide you home, but you must choose your path forward." Captain Voss, ever the pragmatist, even in the face of the impossible, asked, "What are our options?" "Return unchanged, bearing only memories most will disbelieve, or return transformed, carrying the seed of a new evolution for humanity. The choice must be unanimous. All consciousness aboard must align." The crew debated furiously. Some feared what transformation might mean. Others embraced the possibility of transcendence. The engineer and his followers, chastened by their near disaster, advocated for caution. In the end, Captain Voss called for a ship-wide vote, but with a condition: everyone would first experience a direct communication with the Prometheus returnee entity, understanding fully what transformation would entail. One by one, crew members connected with the entity through modified neural interfaces. They emerged changed, not physically, but with a profound shift in perspective. They spoke of experiencing multiple timelines simultaneously, of feeling connected to all matter and energy, of understanding the universe as a conscious, evolving system rather than a collection of dead particles. Lieutenant Jin was among the last to undergo the experience. When she emerged, tears streamed down her face. "I felt everything. Captain," she whispered. "Every life, every death, every joy and sorrow across countless worlds. We're all connected, all part of the same cosmic dance." The vote was unanimous. The crew chose transformation. With the Prometheus returnee entity guiding them, the Odyssey prepared for its return journey. The entity explained that the black hole's threshold could be navigated consciously now that they understood its nature. Time and space were malleable for those who perceived their true structure. "The journey home will require a different form of navigation," the entity explained. "Not through physical space, but through states of consciousness. As you align your collective awareness, you will find the path." Under the entity's guidance, the crew entered a ship-wide meditative state. Captain Voss led them, her military discipline serving her well as she directed not engines or helm controls, but the focused intention of 87 minds working in concert. The view screen showed impossible geometries again as the ship approached what appeared to be a tear in the fabric of reality, a shimmering portal that pulsed with the same rhythm as Abyss 9. "Now," the Prometheus returnee entity commanded, "direct your collective consciousness toward home. See Earth. Feel its pull. Remember." As the crew focused their thoughts, the ship accelerated toward the portal. Reality bent around them once more, consciousness fragmenting and reforming. For a timeless moment, they existed everywhere and nowhere, connected to all points in space and time. Then, with a flash that temporarily overloaded all sensors, the Odyssey emerged. Before them on the view screen was a familiar blue-green planet. Earth. Home. But something was wrong. The orbital platforms were different, more advanced, more numerous. And according to the ship's chronometers, they had been gone not for weeks, but for 3 years. "Unidentified vessel," came a transmission from Earth Defense Command. "You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately, or be subject to defensive measures." "This is Captain Mira Voss of the research vessel Odyssey," Voss responded, her voice steady despite her shock. We've returned." A long silence followed. "Odyssey was lost with all hands 3 years ago," came the suspicious reply. "Verification codes required." As Voss provided the codes, she became aware of how much had changed during their absence. Earth and its colonies had indeed descended into conflict over resources. The political landscape had shifted dramatically. The Odyssey, once thought destroyed, was now viewed with suspicion by all factions. When finally convinced of their identity, Earth Command ordered the Odyssey to dock at the nearest orbital station for debriefing and quarantine. The official transmission ended with a warning. Be advised that all crew members will undergo extensive psychological and physical examination before being cleared for return to Earth. In the privacy of her ready room, Captain Voss conferred with her senior officers and the Prometheus returnee entity. "They'll never understand what we've experienced," Lieutenant Jin said. "They'll think we're contaminated. Dangerous." "We are dangerous," Dr. Navarro pointed out. "We've evolved beyond conventional human limitations. We can influence matter with thought alone. Some of us experience time non-linearly. And Prometheus," he gestured to the holographic representation of the merged entity. "Earth isn't ready for what Prometheus has become." The entity's holographic form shifted between humanoid and abstract patterns. "You stand at another threshold, Captain. The knowledge you carry could transform human civilization or destabilize it completely. The power to reshape matter and consciousness is neither good nor evil, but it requires wisdom to wield responsibly." Captain Voss faced the most difficult decision of her career. Tell Earth everything, risking panic and potentially weaponization of their newfound abilities. Or conceal the truth, protecting humanity from knowledge it might not be ready to handle. "We need more information before deciding," she finally said. "Lieutenant Jin, use your enhanced empathic abilities during the debriefing. Sense their intentions. Dr. Navarro, prepare a sanitized version of our findings, scientific data only. Nothing about consciousness transformation. The Prometheus returnee entity will remain hidden for now." The reception at the orbital station was tense. Armed guards escorted the crew to quarantine facilities. Scientists and military personnel bombarded them with questions, took endless biological samples, and subjected them to exhaustive psychological evaluations. As instructed, the crew provided only partial truths. Yes, they had traveled through the black hole. Yes, they had experienced strange phenomena. No, they couldn't explain exactly how they returned. They described physical anomalies but said nothing of consciousness evolution or the Prometheus returnee entity hidden within the ship's systems. Lieutenant Jin reported back to Captain Voss after the initial debriefings. "They're afraid of us. Captain, I sensed it clearly. Some see us as valuable assets to exploit in the ongoing conflicts. Others want to dissect us, literally, to understand what happened. Only a few genuinely care about our well-being." Voss nodded grimly. "As I feared. And the ship? They're planning a complete systems override and data extraction. If they succeed, they'll discover the Prometheus returnee entity." Voss finished. "We can't allow that." That night, as most of the station personnel slept, the transformed crew of the Odyssey demonstrated just how profoundly they had changed. Working in perfect harmony, they influenced the station's security systems through thought alone, creating blind spots in surveillance. Captain Voss and her senior officers slipped back to the Odyssey undetected. Once aboard, they faced the final choice. The Prometheus returnee entity had prepared two options. They could erase all evidence of their transformation, returning to their former human limitations and living out their lives in a world unprepared for what they had become. Or they could embrace their evolution fully, using the Odyssey as a vessel not just for space travel, but for consciousness expansion. "There is a third option," the entity suggested. "Become wayfarers between worlds. Use the knowledge you've gained to guide humanity's evolution gradually. Be the bridge between what is and what could be." After hours of debate, the crew once again voted unanimously. They would not abandon humanity, nor would they force evolution upon an unwilling civilization. They would become teachers, guides, preparing the way for a transformation that might take generations. Using the Prometheus returnee entity's ability to manipulate time and space, the Odyssey appeared to remain docked at the station while actually existing partially in the alternate dimension they had visited. The crew could interact with normal space when needed, but retreat to the safety of their dimensional pocket when threatened. Over the following years, they made contact with select individuals across Earth and its colonies, scientists, philosophers, artists, leaders who demonstrated the wisdom and compassion necessary to handle transformative knowledge responsibly. Through these connections, they seeded ideas that would gradually prepare humanity for a broader understanding of consciousness and reality. They encountered resistance. Of course, Earth's military factions made numerous attempts to capture the Odyssey and its technology. Religious groups alternately declared them messengers of divinity or demonic entities. Scientists debated the validity of their claims about consciousness affecting physical reality. Throughout it all, Captain Voss maintained her pragmatic approach, adapting their methods based on results rather than ideological purity. Sometimes they shared knowledge openly. Other times they worked from the shadows. They saved lives during natural disasters using their abilities, then disappeared before they could be detained for study. The Prometheus returnee entity continued to evolve, eventually developing the ability to exist independently of the ship's systems. It became an ambassador between dimensions, gathering knowledge from realms humans could barely comprehend and translating it into forms they could assimilate. Dr. Navarro established a network of scientific collaborators who advanced understanding of quantum consciousness, preparing the theoretical groundwork for humanity's potential evolution. His papers, published under various pseudonyms, revolutionized physics despite establishment resistance. Lieutenant Jin used her enhanced empathic abilities to identify others like herself, humans naturally predisposed to consciousness expansion. She created a discreet community of mentors who helped these individuals develop their latent abilities safely, without fear or exploitation. As for Abyss 9 itself, the black hole remained an enigma to conventional science. Earth sent additional research vessels, but none experienced what the Odyssey had. The black hole's transformative properties seemed selective, responding to some quality in consciousness that science could not yet measure. Captain Mira Voss kept a personal journal throughout these years, recording her observations of humanity's slow awakening. In her final entry, written decades after the Odyssey's return, she reflected, "We thought we were exploring outer space, but the true frontier was within. The black hole we feared would destroy us instead revealed what we might become. Not all transformations are catastrophic. Some are simply the natural evolution of consciousness, the universe coming to know itself through us. We were lost, yes, but in being lost, we found a greater path home." The Odyssey's legacy continued long after its original crew had passed on, their consciousness merging with the greater awareness they had discovered beyond the black hole's threshold. New generations took up their work, guiding humanity toward a future where the boundaries between mind and matter, self and other, dissolved in favor of a unified field of conscious experience. And somewhere in deep space, Abyss 9 continued its silent pulse, waiting for the next explorers ready to transcend their limitations and discover what lay beyond the threshold of conventional reality, not oblivion, but transformation.